That thing you've been calling confusion, the situation you've been going back and forth on for weeks, maybe months, there's a good chance you're not actually confused. You already know. Some part of you already knows exactly what you need to do. You just haven't wanted to deal with what comes after doing it. And so instead of deciding, your brain found something that feels almost identical to being stuck, but is actually something completely different. It found a way to stay in the loop without ever having to land anywhere. That's what we're talking about today. Because I think once you see this clearly, you're not going to be able to unsee it. Okay, so here's the thing about confusion. Real confusion, like genuine, I have no idea what's true confusion, is actually pretty rare when it comes to our own lives. We tend to know ourselves better than we give ourselves credit for. What's way more common is something psychologists call experiential avoidance, which is just a fancy way of saying, you know what the answer is, but the answer comes with a feeling you're not ready to feel. So instead of going toward the decision, your brain creates a holding pattern. It keeps you busy, researching, asking everyone for their opinion, making pros and cons lists, replaying the same scenarios over and over. And all of that activity creates the sensation of working on the problem without ever actually solving it. It's incredibly clever, honestly, because it doesn't feel like avoidance. It feels like being thorough. It feels like being responsible. It feels like you just need a little more information before you can decide. But here's the thing. Ask yourself, has more information actually moved you closer to a decision? Or has every new piece of information just added another layer to the loop? If it's the second one, that's not confusion. It's actually protection. So if it's not clarity you're missing, what is it? What's the thing underneath the confusion that you're actually trying not to face? Usually, it's one of a few things. Sometimes, it's the grief of what you'd have to let go of, because a lot of decisions aren't really about choosing between two options. They're about accepting that choosing one thing means losing another. And grief is heavy. So the brain says, well, if we never decide, we technically never have to lose anything. We can keep both versions of the future alive a little longer. Sometimes it's the fear of being wrong. If you decide and it doesn't work out, that's on you. But if you stay confused, if you stay in the research phase, in the talking it through phase, there's no outcome to be wrong about yet. It's safer in the uncertainty than it is in the commitment. And sometimes it's the weight of responsibility. Because deciding means owning your life. It means saying, this is the direction I'm choosing, and I'm accountable for where it leads. And that's genuinely scary. Especially if you've been let down by your own choices before, or you've grown up in an environment where making the wrong call had real consequences. So the avoidance isn't weakness. It's actually your nervous system trying to keep you safe. The problem is, it keeps you safe by keeping you completely still. Here's what nobody really talks about though. Staying confused has a cost, a real one. Every day you spend in the loop is a day you're not moving. And the thing about life is, it doesn't actually pause while you figure things out. Time keeps going. Other people make decisions. Doors open and close. And you're still sitting with the same pros and cons list you made 3 months ago, just slightly more tired and slightly more convinced that clarity is right around the corner. There's also something that happens to your relationship with yourself when you stay stuck like this for too long. You start to trust yourself less, because somewhere inside you, you know. And the longer you ignore that knowing, the more disconnected you get from your own instincts, the harder it becomes to trust your gut on anything. So the confusion isn't neutral. It's not just a waiting room. It's actually pulling you further from the version of yourself that decides things clearly and moves forward. Okay, so how do you get out of the loop? Because I'm not going to just tell you to make a decision and leave it there. That's not helpful. First, stop asking for more information and start asking a different question. Instead of, what's the right decision, ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I choose this? Get specific. Name the fear. Because most of the time, the loop isn't about logic. It's about an emotion that hasn't been named yet. And you cannot think your way out of something that isn't a thinking problem. Second, notice what your body already knows. This sounds a little out there, but stay with me. When you imagine fully committing to one option, not just considering it, actually committing, what happens in your body? Does something loosen or tighten? That physical response is information. It's usually ahead of your conscious mind by quite a bit. Learn to listen to it. Third, give yourself permission to decide imperfectly. The reason so many people stay stuck is because they're waiting for the decision that comes with a guarantee. And that decision doesn't exist. No one gets a guarantee. What you get is a choice, and then the chance to handle what comes next. That's it. And honestly, you are more capable of handling what comes next than you're giving yourself credit for right now. Here's the thing I really want to leave you with. Clarity doesn't always come before the decision. Sometimes it comes because of it. Sometimes you have to move first, imperfectly, uncertainly, a little scared, and the clarity shows up on the other side. The loop will keep spinning for as long as you let it, but you're not confused. You're just not ready to feel the thing that deciding will make you feel. And when you're ready, when you decide to be ready, you already know what you're going to do. If this one resonated, tell me in the comments, what's the decision you've been circling? You don't have to have the answer yet. Just naming it out loud is already something. Take care. See you in the next one.